Hello everyone, Joshua Hayes at BigWaveTrading.com. We're going to go over some of the better performing stocks that I am swinging or trend following long during Friday's session, and also review two that has basically failed. They're 100% end of day sell signals. On my website, I track everything on an end of day basis, but obviously I have stops, good to cancel, and limit orders that are out there intraday that get hit as the session goes along, but still we're going to review these names on an end of day basis. But before we get started, just want to let everyone know that I have a very long weekend video for premium members of Big Wave Trading, and I discuss the overall market. We are in the middle of the seasonally worst week for stock market returns from Friday till Thursday. This is the worst 5-day period going back to 1950 in the stock market. So keep that in mind as you go around the rest of this next week, this next trading week. Make sure you kind of keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that the market can't go higher, but when price is confirming seasonality, you kind of want to just be very, very aware of that. And following Friday's session with the QQQ, as you can see here on these charts, once again, want to apologize for using Telechart version 7 instead of 18 for these videos. But the balance of power at the bottom of the screen does not match up with the price levels on version 18. They can't do that for some odd reason. Seems like it'd be a very easy fix, but some odd reason the software can't do that. So we're just going to review using Telechart version 7. But first off, the NASDAQ did gap fill, so we don't have to worry about that. But with this being seasonally the worst week in the market, indices love to fill gaps, and there's still a gap open here in the DIA. There is still a gap open here in the S&P 500, and there is even more precarious is the gap down here in the IWM. Now, I'm hoping we do not fill that gap, and that with that volume surge on that gap day, that is a breakaway gap and does not need to be filled, but we'll see. I'm more, quote, worried, I'm never really worried, about the gap here in the SPY and DIA. So keep that in mind as we're moving forward. Also want to let everybody know, my time segment volume using a 24 period is negative on all of the indices, SPY, DIA, QQQ, IWM, on a daily, weekly, and monthly time frame. So the best uptrends when I push size and have confidence and conviction behind my long positions or when my TSV indicator is trending higher, above the signal line above the moving average line, and it's above zero, even better. That is not the case on any time frame, daily, weekly, monthly, on any of the indices. So keep that in mind. Those don't look like they're going to curl higher at the earliest until middle of October. So with all that being said, Friday was still a pretty good session on our end. I had just as many stocks up as I had stocks down, and the stocks that were higher performed significantly better than the stocks that were down. It's not always going to be that way, but it was that way on Friday, and we will go over two of those losers. But first, let's review some of the better performing names that I am long still that had a great session on Friday. So first off, RBZ was a long signal here. I want to show everybody what it looked like on this chart. So it's hard to see here, but volume was heavier than the session before. I have max green bop off the lows, and I have a bullish candle over candle pattern. Now, I then go further, and on tradingview.com, I check my TSV, my M-trend squeeze indicator, RSI, MACD, and stochastics. Everything confirmed this price curl. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but it still confirmed it. I got filled the very next day, and it worked better than I thought it would because my very first profit target was at 242, and it nailed that. Initially, my second profit target was at 479, splitting it 50% at each level. So I already was out of 50% with profits. Now, moving forward the next day, I now have this high a day as my next profit target level, still using 479 as the final half in case it just explodes intraday right to that level. Yes, I'll be knocked out of the entire trade, but it'll be with profits and I'll be happy. RBZ continued to actually trade in a very tight overall manner. tried to move higher this day. Finally, it hit my profit target level, I do believe, here on that day. No, it missed it. It missed it that day. It hit it yesterday. There you go. So 274. So I was knocked out of another half of it on Friday at 268. That being said, the pattern is still true. Will I now use this high of the day as my next limit? No. Right now, for now, my next stop, my next limit, good to cancel sell limit order, is at 479, and then the very next one is up here at 809, giving it a lot of room to breathe. With RBZ currently, I have half of my stops here, a good to cancel sell stop order, 1 cent below these lows, and my final stop is right here. But I always tell people, you know, here's a nice simple uptrend line. If it closes, and if you want to really kind of cheat it through the lows here, you could kind of draw it through that low right there. If RBZ closes below that uptrend line, you can just get out. But what I wanted to show you, that even if you've done nothing since the long signal, RBZ is up over 40% since the entry in 1 month. That's great. That's what we like to see. RBZ is acting just how I want to see it act. Now, RBZ was just one of many winners that did much better than any of my losers. ORGO was another one. ORGO was a long signal here. It has the exact same setup that RBZ had. All of the technical indicators confirm. You can see we have a bullish candle over candle, heavier above average volume, max green bop, and these blue line spikes are pocket pivot point signals, back-to-back pocket pivot point signals. Now my first profit target goal, 6. My next one up there at 835. ORGO moves higher, and bam, hits my 6 level on this day. Now, I readjust everything, and I put another profit target at 659, keeping the last one at 835. ORGO barely misses it on the 16th, but on Friday, bam, hits it again. Now, because there's no long wick at the top here, my next profit target is at 835. And with ORGO, I believe I have readjusted just to be insane in case it happens. If it doesn't, no big surprise. 1430 is where my next good to cancel sell limit is on this position. But ORGO, once again, everything is working fine. So now what I do, I have 50% of my, now I'm a little bit more aggressive. I'm going to tell you what you should do. I actually will have a stop here, 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 then to here. But if you trade a little bit more, you can't tier out like I do because I only pay $1 in commissions. I take very large size, which by the way, 1% of my account capital right now per trade, not 5, not 10, not 20%. If you're a new trader, always recommend 10% of your account capital per position, keeping tight stops. But this is what I would do if you are limited in capital. One stop goes 1 cent below this low a day here. One stop goes below this low day right here. This ensures that overall on the position, you'll be leaving with gains. If you want to be super aggressive with your trailing stops, you can draw that uptrend line there, a close below that uptrend line. You will get completely out of ORGO. Why do I not like doing that personally on my end when the market is trending higher? Had I done that, I would have, because this was the true trend line before this low here, I would have been completely knocked out of it before it hit my next limit. But either way, hey, not too bad. ORGO up over 35% in less than a month, just a couple of weeks. I'll take that anytime, any day. Then there's AKRX. AKRX, you can see its high day, 425. 430 is my next profit target, this high here. And then the next profit target after 430 is up here at 546. AKRX was a long signal here. It's kind of like a double bottom pattern here. I got a double bottom, 2 hammer wick candles, but I got that hammer candle off that recent strong price support on heavier above average volume with an increasing green bop. And once again, all of my technical indicators, TSV, RSI, MACD, stochastics, and M-trend squeeze were confirming that move. AKRX, bam, worked immediately. Now I had a profit target here. That was hit. The next one is here. We'll see if that gets hit. But once again, AKRX is working well. And as you can see, over a 50% gain in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sessions. Beautiful. Now with that move higher here, If you want to get super aggressive with your stops, you just draw an uptrend line right there, a close below that uptrend line, you get out of AKRX. How I'm currently tiering my stops on this position, I now have one right here at these lows, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And yes, that is deep, but I want to try to give AKRX more room to work before I do get out of it. Still, excellent play. Probably the one that we should have gone over first, SLDB. Now, what you'll be seeing on all these trade ideas, you notice it on all of them, there's a white triangle. The day that I get filled is when I put these triangles on. So this is the signal date. I get filled on that date. RBZ. Signal date, I get filled on this day. AKRX. Signal date, get filled on this session. So with SLDB, it's been working for a while. Now you'll notice with SLDB, it pulled in initially. And yes, I did get stopped out of half of the share size before it moved higher. But SLDB on Friday hit another profit target level, which was, let's see, 1197.12. That's what I thought it was. It was a whole round number at 12. So I had a profit target. A few have been hit along the way. Gosh, these videos get out of hand with me. We're already over 10 minutes. You can see it's 12 here. The profit target was achieved on Friday, and I was able to take more profits on SLDB. SLDB, I currently have 3 stops on it. One right here below the yellow BOP areas, one here, and then one here, all for profits. Once again, though, if you're still long SLDB with me, you have an uptrend line to work with, and you can even cheat it through these levels if you want to. So it's the same kind of uptrend line, but a close below the uptrend line, you'll get out. Now, I know I'm already out of half, but let's say, first off, just so you know, this was my first stop level. This is my final one. Is that giving it a lot of room to work? Yes, but with my methodology, once this happens, if this would have happened on above average volume and we would have seen the green BOP fall to yellow, this bar would have been my final stop level. But since the pullback was on lighter volume, we kept the green BOP. I kept that final loose stop there, and it turned out really well. Took profits at $12 on Friday, but as you can see, in a slightly under 2 months, 94% gain. Not too shabby. I wish that these were easier to, find right now, but they're not the easiest to find currently. It's kind of a crapshoot out there. I'm not quite sure what will work, what doesn't work. I'm just trying to make sure everything lines up via my indicators. Take the trade. If it works out, great, I hold on to it. If it doesn't work out, I just cut my losses and get out immediately and move on right now because we're near all-time highs. The market has a tough time getting through the all-time highs right now. So right now, I'm really tight with all new long positions. And the last one I want to go over is actually one that we reviewed in the video lesson where I said my worst performer on the day. There was a video lesson I did here where I talked about ADMS triggering and me getting filled, but it reversing immediately. Still, didn't trigger any of my stops. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 stops initially on this position. ADMS didn't trigger any of them. The very next day, do you see how the low day is 619? I moved a stop to that low day. It held 620. What did ADMS do after that? Boom, perfect. So ADMS right now, bam, 15% gain in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. 1 week, 15%. ADMS, I don't know where my first profit target is. I believe that I'm giving it room to work all the way to 905. And then the next one will be 1257. I don't have my interactive brokers up on my other monitors right now. But either way, once again, to know where you're going to stop out, you draw an uptrend line right here. ADMS closes below that uptrend line. Hey, you get out with some profits. Me, I'm still tiering my stops. Like I said, my commissions only cost $1. I have 1 here, 2, 3. I've moved these now to 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on ADMS, but that's been working. So those are all the ones that are working right now. You could have also, by the way, taken profits here at the 200-day moving average. You could have used the 200-day moving average as a profit target goal. I just happen to not. So what I might do, since it now is above the 200-day moving average, I'm going to more than likely sell 25% day market sell order come Monday morning, just so I do lock in some of those short-term games. Haven't quite decided on that yet. Don't know if I'm going to do 20 or 25%, but pretty sure it's going to be 25%. So now let's go over some losers. First off, let's go over a new long position that's failed immediately. NUAN. So NUAN, I decided to take here as a trade. I know the chart pattern is sloppy, okay? I see that it's sloppy, but still, I got a candle over candle, heavier above average volume, increasing green bop. The trigger is 1761, up and through 1761. I never want a stock to gap up, pull back in. If it pulls back in, I do not send my order into the system until the bid, ask, and price is below 1760. Once it's below 1760, then I would call it on. Here we didn't have to worry about that. Nuan, fine, didn't trigger that day. Should have been a warning sign it wasn't going to work. Could have even have canceled the order. Probably should have. Now that in hindsight, when I look at this chart, this probably should have been canceled. Immediate heavier above average volume and yellow bop, reversing the green bop, should have taken the trade off, but I didn't. And I got filled on Nuan, and you know what? Initially, hey, worked out pretty well. My first profit target, though, because of that bar, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just get out a half if it hits 1816. Well, came pretty darn close. 1811, but it didn't hit. And once again, another big candle reversal. Now, the good news is I marched my stops up immediately to this low, so I started to get partially stopped out of it on the way down. It hasn't been a big deal. But still, following Friday session, that's it. It's a goner. NUAN is done. You can see the low here of this tail session right here, 1672. My final stop, 1671. Bam. Took it out yesterday. Yesterday, 1668. Yesterday was Friday. I'm making this video on Saturday. So what is the total loss if you were trading on an end-of-day basis? 5%. Do you remember all those winners we just went over? Compare that to the loser. This is why you always cut your losses. For all we know, Nuan could head all the way back down to here, but it doesn't matter. I'm already out of NUAN. But that's an example of a stock that didn't work immediately, and it gave us plenty of warning signs that it wasn't going to work immediately. What I probably should have done, I decided to give it initially down to here. Basically, you can draw an uptrend line right here. And I was kind of working with that uptrend line, giving it a chance to work with that line initially. But once that day happened and then that day happened, I should have known better and should have just moved all of my stops to 1703. Once again, hindsight. Wanted to give it a chance to work. Didn't work. Moving on. That's all you can do. That's sometimes they don't work out. Nuan didn't work out. Now let's go over a longer term play that failed. Cara. Unfortunately, I've already removed the entry, the little triangle. So this is the entry date here. Let's go show you what it looked like here. Cara. Why was Cara long if volume is below average? Because it was in my Perfect Speculator scan. If you guys have not read this Perfect Speculator by Brad Kodeshwar, it's a very simple, easy read. It's one of the most underrated books in the stock market. I suggest you go out and buy immediately. It basically tells you to focus on stocks that are near their 52-week highs, preferably all-time highs, as Cara was, that are within 20% of that 52-week all-time high, that also had previously moved up 100% off the lows. And if I go back to June here, see, it counts all of this. So I believe at the time, it counts this as the 100% mark, which would have been like around 24, as you can see. And then you can see here the low is around 12. So that's why it showed up in the Perfect Speculator scan. Still, hammer candle right off the 50-day moving average, above average volume, and I have all that max green bop. And you know what? It worked immediately and worked very well. And what's funny, perfectly, I was able to get out a half up here, 24.30, hit 26.60 that day. So I locked in a ton of profits right away. Bam, 28%, 25% gain. However, after Friday's session, nobody should still be long this stock. That is a 100% failure. How I quantify that is we draw an uptrend line here. I know the tail move below it. Doesn't matter. I want to see it touch a whole bunch of points. Closing below that uptrend line on above average heavier volume with red BOP below the 50-day moving average after the stock has already begun a sell-off with that red BOP, huge distribution. That's a full sell signal. Now, I wasn't in it on Friday. I was already completely out. Can anybody see where I would have personally been taken out here? Anyone? Anyone? If you don't know, once this day happened, immediately half of whatever I have left went to 1 cent below this low a day, 22.74. The next few sessions, it was holding in, but right here, it started to flirt with the 50-day moving average and maybe a little bit irrationally, but I went ahead and moved my final stop on this position from this level here, where it probably should have stayed, to 21.63. The very next day, it traded down to 21.62 and completely knocked me out of Cara, still with gains from the first day of 12%. But just want to show you what a chart looks like that I no longer want to have anything to do with. So Cara can reverse here, move higher, go to all-time highs. Don't care. I'm out of it. Unless it resets up, there's nothing I can do. All right, everybody. I am going to do my best to keep these videos shorter, but there was a lot of things I wanted to review because, as you could see, these were two of my worst performers on Friday. Cara. I'm only tracking Cara on an end-of-day basis for members of the website. Like I said, I run the website as an end-of-day website, which basically means people that don't have a whole lot of time, they can go to the watch list pages. I give you exactly what my good to cancel buy stop limit orders are and my initial good to cancel sell stop levels are to cut your losses on trending names. And I give out the limits to anybody that asks in the chat room where I'm putting my profit target limits at. But Cara on an end-of-day basis never was a 100% failure because it never closed below the 50-day moving average on above average volume until Friday. So now Cara is no longer, that's why there's no more arrows on here. That's why you don't see an arrow on here. I've removed it from my watch list. It's no longer being tracked on the website on an end-of-day basis. It's been listed as a 100% end-of-day full sell signal. Even though I was knocked out back here, I was still tracking it for everyone until today. But once again, let's compare Cara, down almost 4%, to Nuan, down almost 2%, compared to the winners in RBZ, which once again, 44% in RBZ, ORGO, and I'm going to round down, 35% in ORGO, SLDB, 95%. Oh, I'm drawing another trend line there. 95%, 90%. Let's reduce it. 90%, and then ADMS, 17%. So that's what we're always looking for. Always looking for a greater 3 to 1, 3 or more to 1 reward to risk ratio on anything based on a stock's previous measured move, or possibly the move from the downtrend to see how much it can possibly retrace compared to what my inherent initial good to cancel sell stop levels are. All right, everybody, long video, going to wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you did. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Aloha.